you made a great prediction last hour that Tom Brady will be making it known where he's going to be playing early in that legal tampering window, and the Patriots have a limited window of opportunity to try to keep him. And, Chris, the big question is, will they do it? And what else will they be doing to do it? And there was a report yesterday from Albert Breer of SI that the Patriots are looking into the possibility of trading for receivers and tight ends. And presumably that would be to make it more enticing for Tom Brady to stay right where he is.
No doubt. I mean, it's going to make it more enticing for Tom Brady, or if Tom Brady did leave town, which I don't expect him to, it's going to make it better on that next guy who comes in at quarterback either way. But we know, New England needs improvements at these two positions. I mean, their dynasty is built on, some good receiver play with a great tight end. We know whether it was, I don't want to say good receiver play. I should say great. Whether it's Deion Branch, Edelman, Wes Welker, Randy Moss. I mean, they've had some good ones there, and it's a tough combination to stop with that offense and then a tight end working down the middle. Now, Mike, there's some interesting names, I think, out there that could be had as far as via the trade. We've heard rumors of, Stephon Diggs, okay? I'm still not going to say that doesn't happen. I know Minnesota's saying they're Stephon Diggs, and Spielman told us, right.
Hey,
They've never
Spielman
lied
said
to
he
us
is a
before.
Minnesota Viking.
Right.
No, remember?
Yes.
I said, look into the camera and say we have no intent to trade Stephon Diggs, and Spielman said Stephon Diggs is a Minnesota Viking, and you said that meant absolutely nothing.
That meant absolutely nothing. That's right. He is a Minnesota Viking until, like you say, he's not, right? So you think about him, Stephon Diggs, A.J. Green. I think that's got to be a team that New England probably would have called about. Sammy Watkins. We know that Kansas City most likely not going to have him back, especially not at $16 million. And then you got guys like, I don't know if they would go down the Brandon Cooks lane once again. I know they've had him before. Alshon Jeffrey with the Eagles. That's an interesting one. So I think there is some interesting plays to be had, and I think the wide receiver market in general could be interesting here. But the Patriots have to improve that area of their football team if they want to take that next step again and be back in the AFC Championship and in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of whether Tom Brady or anyone else is the quarterback, you need better receivers and tight ends. You need someone, Chris, who commands double coverage down the field.
Yes.
Every once in a while you see double coverage on Julian Edelman, but when you're bunched into the slot like that, it's very easy for a guy to peel off. You want someone who's going to stretch and take the top off of the defense, as people like to say. You want to have two guys following him deep down the field so everything else underneath opens up with single coverage.
Yeah, 100%. And New England is the king of doing that. And then when they get two guys like that, a tight end and, let's say, a receiver, and then they usually have a pass-catching back to come out of the backfield, a la James White or, the Deion Lewises and all that, then they become very tough to stop, because now you're going, whoa, there's a receiver on the outside and work in the middle of the field. Whoa, the tight end, they really know how to get the ball to him in a whole lot of different ways. And then they'll have the running back come out of the backfield and work the underneath coverage. And that's what makes New England, special that way. And that's what makes them so dominant for so many years. They usually had that type of combination. It was Gronkowski and Edelman towards the end. In the middle, it was kind of like Randy Moss and Wes Welker together. They did the same thing. They just did it a little bit of a different way. In the early years, you had the Ben Watson, the Daniel Graham, and the Deion Branch conversations, and Troy Brown. So, they definitely need to improve that area of their football team if they want to make a serious run. You're not going to beat Kansas City 17-14 in the playoffs. It's just not going to happen. You better have some firepower at your disposal.
Yeah, and look, it may be that they are looking into making these trades not necessarily to convince Brady to stay, but to shore up some weaknesses in the event that they have to prove they can win without him, right? Because they're going to want to show that we can do it without Tom Brady, and they know Tom Brady is going to be trying to show that he can do it without them. And Chris, the delay by 2 days of the CBA vote from Thursday night to Saturday night, that really cuts down the window that the Patriots have to get something worked out before the legal tampering period opens. They're going to have all day Sunday, 24 hours Sunday, and 12 hours Monday to work out a deal with Tom Brady once they know what the rules will be, because we're not going to know whether we're operating under the rules of the current CBA or the new CBA until midnight or however long it takes to process the votes on Sunday morning after the voting is done. I'd like to think it's instantaneous since the voting is being done digitally, but that's when they'll know. And that window has now been shrunken by 2 days for the Patriots and Tom Brady to work something out. That's an impediment to this, and we need to keep that in mind too, because they have to work out a contract and deal with that $13+ million in dead money that Tom Brady is going to count for if he becomes a free agent on Wednesday.
Yeah, right. Well, that changes things, and I think the one thing that jumped out about what you said first off is I think that it's very real that Brady and Belichick, if they split their different ways here. Hey, the war is on. I mean, this is going to be a race to prove who was the more important guy. I think both of these guys love their time together, but they're extremely competitive, and I think they realize that they're synonymous in a lot of ways, and I think both of them would like to show, like, hey, I know the other guy I was with is really great, but he's not that great. I can win without him. I almost wouldn't be shocked if New England ended up going harder in free agency if they lost Brady, because then they know, oh, man, we're going to lose some inventory in our offense. We can't expect somebody to come in here and do all of that stuff. And I think they'll overcompensate for the loss of Brady to want to show that, hey, we're still a really good team and we can win without him, to where they might make more aggressive moves if they lose him than they do if they necessarily bring him back.
Chris, it may be the kick in the ass that everyone needs, right?
Yeah.
For Brady and for
Sure.
Belichick and the Patriots. I mean, after 20 years, this is the kind of thing that gets everybody fired up again. Like, Brady, I'm going to go prove to you guys that I can do it. And Belichick, I'm going to prove to the world that I didn't just luck into a 6th-round draft pick who ended up being one of the great quarterbacks of all time, if not the greatest quarterback of all time. And otherwise, I wouldn't have a single Lombardi trophy. So it is going to make things interesting. And that's why I kind of like him to stay in the AFC.
Yeah.
I want there to be a greater chance of his path crossing with Brady's and vice versa. And if he leaves, that's going to be a big part of it.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.